Hello everybody, this is Rudra Pradhan here. Welcome to Engineering Econometrics, and today we will continue with the exploring data on spreadsheets. And in the last couple of lectures we have already highlighted the use of data and that too how to enter the data, how to process the data with the help of a particular software called as a Excel spreadsheet. In fact, we have discussed in details the operations, the kind of features, like we have mathematical functions, we have a statistical functions, then we have a data analysis spec, then we have a Excel start. So, that means typically in the last couple of lectures we specifically give trace on the use of data with the help of Excel spreadsheet. So, that means in the process of econometric engineering or in the process of data analysis, we should know how to enter the data and then create a kind of structure so that we can do the analysis in a better way and we can apply a particular model in a much attractive way. So, that is how we should know details about the data and how to record the data, how to process the data, how to structure the data. So, in totals we should know in details about the data recording, data processing, data structuring. All these are essential in the process of data analysis and the use of engineering econometrics to solve some of the problems as per the particular organizational requirement or the kind of sectoral requirement. So, in this lecture we specifically give stress on the specific use of Excel spreadsheet, and that too the advanced use of data. And sometimes we have a first hand data, and by the help of first hand data with the simple processing we will get some kind of inference, and that may not be very attractive inference, but somehow these inferences can help you lot to choose a particular model, and that may be the best model as per the particular engineering problems requirement. So, typically in the last lectures we have gone through the component called as a data visualizations, where we have discussed details about the plottings, and that too we have gone through various types of graphs, that to know the nature of the data, the kind of structure of the data, and we like to know the kind of functionality. All these things are we can clearly highlighted, and what I have mentioned, the same data can be visualized through various diagrams or graphs, starting with the line line charts, then bar diagrams and something like that. And then we will get means at the end of the day we will get a kind of structure that yes, data is like this and this is how we will do, or we will go for the kind of analysis. So, in this lecture we will go a little bit more about this that is typically on quantitative aspects. So, that means technically what we have done in the last lecture, it is just the actual data, and we just observing there the kind of nature or the kind of actual facts and observations. Just you plot these data and you can get the overview. For instance, whether the data is uniformly distributed, or there is a kind of linearity structure, or there is a kind of non-linearity structure. So, once you actually plot the data you can get in details, and with the help of these details we can go for advanced modeling. So, in this case we like to know something more about the data processing. In fact, in the next unit we will go details about the descriptive econometrics, where we will go through some of the basic statistics and a little bit inferential statistics to know how the advanced econometric modeling can be processed and that too can be applied to solve some of the engineering problems. So, we like to know some of the data analysis requirements. That means when we have a data some basic idea you must have. For instance, the first hand data is called as a primary data, and then if you will I mean somebody will use the primary data in a another kind of research or some other way of use, then it is called as secondary data or secondary kind of research. So, now what is happening when you get the first hand data, the data may be in a raw format. So, we need actually proper structures before we go for processing the data as per the requirement. For instance, the first hand reporting and then the kind of processing. So, let us say it is a kind of age factors or something kind of height factors in a particular organization. So, randomly you can choose, and then you will find there are maybe 100 peoples, and then you will find there are different types of peoples having different levels of age, different levels of height, and there may be chance that a particular numbers may be repeated frequently. So, that is why we know some of the basic statistics through which all these details can be clustered and put in a kind of structure, so that it can be easily processed and anybody can understand very quickly. So, that is how in this lectures we will know something little bit about the distributions, frequency distributions, histogram, then cumulative frequencies, then percentile, and some of the basic statistics, and the kind of structure called as cross tabulations, pivot tables, and more of the basic statistics, something like that. And you will see here this is a kind of structure, and here what is happening. So, there is a actually observations, and the actual observations are in a different shapes. So, that means here the range is something called as 0, 26,000, then 52,000, 78,000, then 1,04,000, 1,30,000, something like that. So, that means you just enter the data, and then you will find the particular data can be clustered in such a way that it will be in a kind of proper structure. For instance, you see here altogether. So, we have actually 68 observations, 8 observation, 11 observation, 4 observation. So, these are all actually different numbers with respect to a particular group. So, that means technically let us assume that this is a income group. So, there are people there are figures 0, and there in that particular organization you will not find any people whose income is actually 0. Then there are 26,000 people having income 26,000, there are 68 numbers, and then there are people 18 numbers, they have the income 52,000. Similarly, there are 11 people whose income is 78,000, and there are 7 people who are above 1 lakh. So, that means now you just I will tell you the process of the recording and the kind of structuring through a Excel spreadsheet. Just since let us here the total observation is say 80. So, now you just randomly ask 1 to 80. So, what is your income levels, then you just one by one enter the data. Then finally, once you enter the data, you will see a 0 in at the 0. So, now people are there in the 26,000, then there are 68 people. So, now you just enter one by one, then finally you can process it, and that particular process can be through Excel sheet. And so, the instead of writing so many data points, so you have to just write 6 numbers and then followed by corresponding frequency. So, that means the entire spreadsheet now clustered into 2 different different where in the first column we have 6 observations, and followed by second column we have a 6 observations, and the first column represents the different income levels, and second column represents the frequency against these income levels. So, that means just you just you look here in that particular figure. So, the first hand collections, and now the reporting of these first hand information in a kind of systematic format, and that is very much possible and that is means it can be very easily processed through Excel spreadsheet only. And again you can also plot these figures, and in order to know details about this kind of processing. So, now likewise that means 26,000. So, the frequency is 68, that is the highest, and then it is 52. So, it is actually third highest, then this is second highest, then this is fourth highest, then this is fifth highest, and there is no other figure. So, that means it is a very easy to record and observe the particular facts in a much better way, you can say. So, that means technically, so again, so with the help of Excel spreadsheet we can know details, and then it can be also summarized in a particular structural framework, so that it can be easily understood, and anybody can also understand, even laymen can also understand the kind of structure, the kind of reporting, and the kind of inference. Similarly, so we can have actually another kind of structure here, different levels. That means we are just increasing the income levels, and then again you are recording the particular frequency levels. Then you can also visualize it. So, the visualization will give you which particular group means income group is having high frequency, and which particular income group is having a low frequency. So, that means it is a typically actually a different kind of structure through which you can observe the data and get some kind of inference. In fact, it is not the kind of in depth inference which we can do through hardcore econometry modeling, but this is somehow basic inference we can draw from the primary data or the first hand, or you can say the first hand data. So, obviously the particular data can be further structured against income levels, frequency, then relative frequency, and then called as a cumulative frequency. So, that means relative frequency means actually, so frequency divided by total, and that will come into the relative frequency again. So, if you will add one after another level of frequency, then you will get cumulative frequency. So, again you can check the check the data with the respect to cumulative frequency. Like engineering economics, you will find cost factors, individual cost factors and total cost factors. So, it is like that only. So, every point of every stage of production, you are just adding the frequency levels, and then you will get something called as cumulative frequency. So, then every point you find out the midpoints and you join the midpoints, then you will get a particular curve, and that particular curve is called as a ogive. So, this is a graphical plotting of the particular distributions, and we like to know how is this particular distribution. Of course, there are a couple of descriptive statistics are there which can better explain the structure of these distributions, which you can discuss in the next unit. But in the meantime, if you have a data, you can process it and structure it as per the particular requirement, and you can say the better understanding of the primary structure or primary data or first hand data. And some of the structure you can also follow by calculating percentile, calculating say average, then calculating medians. In fact, in this case you can just check how much percentiles within this particular observations or a particular groups. So, it is actually means that means technically Excel has these options. In fact, this is a formula through which you can actually calculate the percentile, but Excel can help you against to do these kind of calculations, and then report the figures as per your requirement. So, this is how the kind of basic structure through which you can understand the data and predict the kind of environment. And here you see means in the particular series how to report percentile. Just you go to the Excel spreadsheet, and just below of that particular series you just put equal to, and then ask for the percentile requirement, just indicate the series like here, means this is how the particular series where you can find out the kind of requirement. Okay. So, this is what the requirement. So, so that means technically in this case, so we have series G4 to G97, which we have discussed in the last lecture, and then you just ask for percentile 90 percentile, then by default you can get to know the numbers. Okay. So, which you can better you can see in the case of Excel spreadsheet. So, I will show you this one with the help of spreadsheet, and again, so there is a quartiles, first quartile, second quartile, third quartile. So, this will give you different shapes of the distribution. So, that means the idea behind this particular discussion is that, so we like to torture the first hand data heavily in order to get better inference, and then with the help of these inference we can use some kind of advanced econometrics tools. So, that means typically one of the basic requirement of econometric modeling is understand the data perfectly. It is not the kind of collection of the data or recording of the data, but you have to understand the data very perfectly. That is why you need actually very much what we can call as torture, heavily you have to torture the data, so that you can get better inference, and that will help you lot to go for advanced econometric modeling. So, likewise you have a different structure through which you can actually observe with the data and predict the situation as per the particular requirement. So, let me give you a kind of hint how in the help of Excel spreadsheet you can actually explain the particular requirement, and see here. So, this is how the particular case. Okay. Okay. So, let's see here. So, this is we start with simply let us say histograms. So, these are all kind of observations, and that will be followed by a frequency distribution. So, so the observation is like this. So, the group follows 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50 and more than that, and then we have a frequency here. So, just what will you do, you can just highlight these ones, and then you go for view or something like that histograms. So, you will find these pictures are visible clearly. Okay. So, let me give you a hint like this. Okay. See here. So, the histograms will be appears here. So, now the same things are plotted here. So, that means it is the first hand information. So, in fact, the particular recording can give you some kind of inference, but now this particular recording can be visualized more in the form of a graph, which can give you better kind of inference. Again, we have a line diagram. So, let us say this is the early productions, and then you will find how these productions are plotted with different structures. So, that means technically, so this is a better kind of inference through which you can actually understand the data as per the particular requirement. Okay. So, this is what the data. So, again, so the plotting will be showing this particular plotting is showing actually it is a kind of line diagram, and then again the same things you can transfer into a column diagram. So, so it is a kind of different kind of approach altogether, because same informations you are visualizing in a different angle altogether, which we have discussed in the last lecture, but with the practical you can take the examples like this, and then you can actually show the kind of situation. Similarly, the same data you can observe through bar diagrams, and again you can also observe through area diagrams, and again you can observe through what we can call as scatter plotting. And that means technically what I am saying that the same information. So, we are not getting any kind of extra inference for these processing or by using different graphs and diagrams. But what is the main idea here, that we should know different kinds of plotting to visualize the data in order to understand the data perfectly, and by using different plotting it will give you some kind of robustness check, or in depth kind of understanding, or in depth kind of visualization, so that there should not be any kind of error for any kind of advanced data modeling or advanced econometric modeling. So, that is why you have to torture the data heavily in the first instance, so that later stage when you will go for advanced econometric modeling, you will not find any difficulty. So, you have to torture the data, then you have to get the inference as per the particular requirement. The same data again in the form of a chart you can visualize and can show as per the particular requirement, and similarly a .NET kind of plotting. So, that means we have a different levels of plotting to understand the data, to get some kind of inference as per the particular requirement. Similarly, we have also discussed earlier the radar kind of diagram. So, that means see here. So, if you start with you here actually, then this is simply year wise production data from 1991 to 2000, and we are just checking these production behaviors with the help of different charts and diagrams, and we are just visualizing to know what is happening in this kind of data reporting. So, same things same data we will line chart, column charts, bar diagrams, area diagrams, scatter plotting, surface diagram, .NET, radar. So, that means see here same data as the same data points and same number of years, just we are watching the behavior of the data or behavior of the productions with respect to different time periods, and with respect to different plotting. So, at the end of the day it will give you better inference as per the particular requirement, and which will help you lot for getting some kind of better insights in the process of using econometric modeling for a engineering problem. So, now for a better understanding again, so we have to go through different level of structuring. So, one such mechanism is called as cross-tabulation. So, for examples, so here there is a region wise informations, and then that is with respect to 3 different products: book, DVD, and something kind of CD. But here in this particular plotting, so we are just showing two items, that is actually book and DVD, and that too with respect to 4 different zones of let us say particular country or something kind of state. Then we just check the cells, and then we visualize how these kind of shaping is all about. So, that means see here in the case of first tables, so it is the actual observations, and this is actually region wise. So, the total book sales let us say up to total 261s, and then again DVD sales 211, and this is actually all together it is a total sales, that is 261 plus 211, that is coming for 72. Again, so in the eastern zone, so we have actually sale of book 56 and sale of book 42. So, again it will appearing 98. Similarly, northern zones there is a sale of books and there is a sale of DVD, again it is coming 85. Similarly, for south zone and similarly for west zone. So, that means technically this is actually total selling across the zones and across the sales. And now, in order to understand the better inference about this particular data, so we will transport the data in a percentile, which is possible in the case of cross tabulation, and that means technically so the eastern zones, so the book selling is 57.1%, and northern zone it's a 50.6%, and southern zones it's a 62.6%, and western zones 52.6%. So that means technically it's very easy to calculate, and Excel can help you lot to do these transformations. So that means technically, so it's a simply actually 56 by 261 divided by 261 multiplied by 100. So the 56 number will transfer into this percentage. Similarly, if you are doing this ones, then you can just scroll it. So you will get other percentage for other regions, and similarly for DVD you can also transfer the actual number into percentage. And that means technically what is the beauty of this particular structure the spreadsheet is that, so you report the data, first hand data, then you transfer into another form which can give you better visualization and some kind of better inference, and that itself will give you some kind of insights or some kind of better inference as per the particular engineering engineering problems requirement. So that is why, so knowing the Excel spreadsheet and knowing some kind of softwares for the process of data, for the analysis of data as per the requirement. So it is always suggestive that you must be acquainted with these particular systems, and it's not that you shouldn't know the particular softwares, you should know the operations, the kind of features, the kind of items availability, like graphical plotting we just means we have just gone through it. So where we the same data we are plotting in different charts and diagrams. So you will find different look altogether, and it gives different kind of understanding, and the kind of means better kind of understanding with a kind of different looks. So it is completely what we use the term called as robustness check. So it will give you complete visualization and complete clarity without any loopholes. So now we are observing or torturing the data in different angles by different tools and different structures altogether. So likewise, so there are many different ways you can actually understand the data, and then you can actually observe the data as per the particular requirement. Similarly, the same things we are plotting here. So see here, so the actual data, and that will be plotted so that you can visualize much better way. So here actually it's in a quantity figure. So when you are graphically you plot, then you can know better, means your judgment will be much better than compared to this just reporting the figure in the Excel sheet. So similarly, so means in the Excel sheet we have actually options called as pivot tables, cross tabulations, and some of the statistical tools which can help you a lot to understand the data and to visualize the data in a much better way, and you can use some of the basic tools like pivot tables, cross tabulation, and that itself will give you some kind of better inference in order to understand the data or as per the particular problems requirement. So likewise, we have a different structure altogether in the Excel spreadsheet. So my suggestion is that you must be very you must be very acquainted with the Excel spreadsheet, how to operate this Excel sheet, and that to the use of the data and the kind of data analysis. In fact, the data analysis spec and Excel start is a little bit complex and very complicated sometimes, depending upon the particular technique requirement and the kind of problem requirement. So so again the suggestion is that it's not that only you have to know the Excel spreadsheet or the kind of data entry, data processing, data visualization, data analysis in a basic at the basic levels, and at the same times you should know the advanced operations like the data analysis spec and the kind of called as Excel start pack, something like that. For instance, if you go to this Excel spreadsheet again, so you will find so there are informations here. For instance, you just go through the Excel spreadsheet, and here you will find this is actually data, and here you will see there is a option called as data in the top of the menu, and you just click the data. You will find extremely right in the top of the corner again there is a structure called as data analysis. So, you just click here. So, then you will find you will find there is a actually variety of way means variety of options are there, and here all kinds of statistical tools are there, starting with simple one, complex ones like simple descriptive statistics, covariance, correlations, ANOVA, then smoothing techniques, then various testing procedures, histogram, moving average, the rank, percentile, regression, sampling, all these tools are already there actually. So, what you can do? So, you just enter the data, first and data, and then with the help of all these statistical tools or the analytics tools. So, you have to actually understand the data in a much better way and try to get some kind of inference as per the particular requirement, and there is a high chance that some of the engineering problems can be solved by using these simple techniques. But if the problem is very complex and it cannot be understand very easily. So, then in that context we have to go for advanced technique and then operate the problem as per the particular requirement. So, the suggestion is that be acquainted with the Excel spreadsheet, how to enter the data, how to understand the data, how to visualize the data, how to get some kind of basic inference as per the advanced modeling requirement or the kind of engineering problems requirement. Once you know all these details, then it will give you some kind of better kind of environment where your problem can be solved in a much better way and as per the particular requirement. So, with this we will close this unit, and in the next unit we will start with basic kind of say basic econometrics, that is what we call as descriptive econometrics, where we will start with all these basic statistics, then we will solve some of the problems by the help of these data analysis spec. So, now in this particular lecture I what we have done here, that we just go through all the beauty of the Excels Excel spreadsheets, and then we get to know what are the operations, what are the functionality, and how to operate, how to visualize, and how to get some kind of basic inference. So, now that itself will take you some advanced level, so that where you can use some of the inferential statistics or predictive statistics to solve some of the problems as per the particular engineering econometrics requirement. So, that means technically, so you have to be very careful about this data and the use of spreadsheet as per the engineering econometrics requirement. So, likewise we have a different kind of structure altogether, and so my suggestion is that you must be again acquainted with the Excel spreadsheet, and before we close these lectures, I like to suggest you that you should go through some of the components, like understand what is the forecasting structure, the data structures like time series data, cross sectional data, qualitative research, forecasting with different techniques like smoothing techniques, moving average, and some of the advanced technique like regressions, causality, so testenarity, all these things are there, and with the help of these actually Excel spreadsheet and the kind of some of the statistical softwares, you can be easily acquainted with the systems and then try to get some kind of inference as per the particular engineering econometrics requirement. With this we will stop here. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.